Hey team, Will Cobb here, and I'm here with another Film Friend Fridays. We've got Henry. He's in Bristol, UK. It's awesome to start doing an international Film Friend Friday, so this is really cool. And we're talking with him about his awesome film photography and Analog Drive, his curated feed on Instagram. So let's get talking to Henry about all of his work. Hey, Henry, how's it going?
Hey, Will. How's it going, man?
It's good, man. Thanks for joining me on Film Friend Fridays.
Thanks very much for having me. It's an honor. This is so
good,
weird.
Man. Yeah.
It's nice to see you.
I think that it's nice to see you. That's basically the design of this show, is to be really weird and contact Instagram friends.
I love how spontaneous it is. It's just like out of the blue. It's great.
Yeah, it's just like, hey dude, how's it going? And why don't we actually talk in person or semi in person?
It's really nice. So it's 4 p.m. in California, right? And I'm burning the midnight oil as usual. This is actually quite early. Yeah.
I appreciate you being up for me.
Hey, no problem. I've got I tried to find a nice American beer to have in celebration, but all I've got is Budweiser, which is unfortunate. But
Budweiser's not bad.
It'll have to do.
Not bad.
It'll do. I was looking for some Sierra Nevada or whatever it's called, but couldn't find it.
Oh, well, shoot. If you're cracking a beer, hold on. Let me grab something. I'll be right back.
Go for it, man.
I'm going to actually crack this.
Go for it. Cheers, mate.
Cheers.
Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you.
Have you been hard at the grind today? What have you been up to?
No, not too much. Well, I kind of woke up and tried to. So I'm actually off this week. I had like a minor surgery. I don't know if you can see it.
Oh,
but it's like
damn.
It cut out. I had like a cyst, and then I cut that out. But I do photo video full time. Well, my wife does it full time for weddings and stuff. And then film. I've been getting into film for my own personal work, but then we're trying to add it to our wedding stuff too.
That's really cool.
Yeah. So that's kind of where.
That's decent because, to be honest, I've always thought that wedding photography is something that I like to try because I've never tried it. But especially on film, it would be insanely cool, but also I can't think of anything more stressful.
Nerve-wracking. Yeah.
Because imagine if you met, like, I'm literally the most amateur film photographer you can think of, because the amount of times that I've put in a roll and I think I've done everything all right, and then it comes out blank. It's just too many to count, honestly. It's insane. Like the first year that I started photography, I've never used digital because I've never had a digital camera. Okay. So the only reason I got into film really was because a mate of mine, Oliver, and what's his? I'm trying to remember his Instagram handle now. Oliver Craig. He one Christmas he turned up to the pub, and we were all just having a nice time. And he was like, "Oh, hey man, I've got something for you." And I was like, "Okay." And he just handed me an Olympus OM10, and he was just like, "I thought you might like this." And I've been doing it ever since, really. But
that's awesome.
Yeah. So it's been great, but it's been such a learning curve, honestly. Because the first year that I was doing film, I actually moved to France, and I was in this tiny town, and luckily there was an old film development shop there. Yeah. And like I tried to befriend the people there and was like speaking in French and was like, "Oh, could you help me out with this camera? Like, could you show me what to do?" They were kind of helpful, but also the language barrier caused some problems. So I ended up having, I think, like 80% of my rolls probably came back blank for the first year.
For the first year?
The first year, man.
How did you keep doing it after all that?
It was just, it was brutal. It was just, luckily, I didn't really have anything else to spend my money on at the time. So I was like, I might as well just keep at it. And then I realized that it wasn't just me, it was also the camera that was causing some problems. Originally, I was like, okay, Olympus gang for life. That's what it's going to be like. I'm just going to get Olympus after Olympus. And now I've got this OM2. So that's a recent buy off eBay. Yeah. And I thought, I'll stick with the brand, see what I can do. Because I don't see many people using Olympuses like that often, especially not the SLRs. And but as soon as it arrived, it had problems, and like every Olympus camera I've had has had issues. It's really weird.
That is weird.
Yeah,
I haven't used Olympus much myself. Actually, I think that's the camera my buddy uses, and he has a pretty bad, not light leak, but it's like a light shutter leak. It's like both at the same time.
Yeah,
it's pretty bad.
Yeah,
and I don't think his meter works at all. I keep encouraging him to like use like a external meter, and he's like, when you're running and gunning, you don't want to pull out your meter sometimes, but. I've been developing a couple of his rolls, and it's like obvious the times when he's thinking about it. And then there's times when it's like, oh man, those are like, it's like too far underexposed.
Oh no. I've had the same exact issue. I feel like I'm such a bit of a lazy photographer really, because I don't actually own a manual meter. And sometimes I'll use my phone.
I just use my phone.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. And like most of the time it's all right. Especially, to be honest, I've only started using it really because I got a medium format camera recently, and this old.
What would you get?
I got 635.
Yeah.
So
Those
so
nice.
I'm which I'm loving actually.
Yeah.
I think I've gotten to the point where I prefer it to 35 mil.
Oh yeah, it's so much better.
It is, isn't it? Like. It's just, there's something really satisfying, despite the fact that you get less negatives and you just have to you really have to think about each shot. You don't want to screw up. It's just so satisfying, like, especially for landscapes. You do a lot of landscape.
Yeah. So I do a lot of medium format, and I started on 35, but I quickly went to medium because medium's more, it's just higher quality, but then a lot of wedding photographers use the 645 format.
Yeah.
And I was like, that's where I want to head. And I might as well invest in something pretty early. So I did the Mamiya 645, which is really comparable to what a lot of the wedding photographers are using as the Contax 645. So, but that thing's really expensive.
Is it? To be honest, I've never seen that one before.
Yeah, it's Contax. It's the Contax G2 is a point and shoot that a lot of people like to use.
Yeah,
and
I've seen that
basically they make really nice lenses, and a lot of people like their film camera or their 645. It has autofocus. I think it goes up to 4,000 shutter. It's nice, but I think people are paying like $3,000 for it. And then Mamiya was bought by Phase One, so technically it's still around, but I don't think Contax is still around to keep fixing their cameras. Yeah. So there's a lot more Mamiya repair than there is Contax. So it's, I don't know. It was like literally a third the cost. And I was like, okay, let's do it. But something about that grain structure is, it's a lot smaller. So like sometimes like you don't even know I'm taking a film shot. But then at the same time, it still has that film vibe. And then it has that character. Like there's just nothing different than that medium format look.
Yeah, for sure.
But slowing down to 12 shots or 15 on the 645. And then I was using an RZ. I borrowed a friend's RZ 6.7.
Did you?
And it was amazing.
That's a
dream.
Was
only 10 shots. Like, so I've got a Bronica 6x6, which does 12 right now. Yeah. And every shot is gold. You know what I mean? Like I take a lot of time with them. I make sure it's lined up, and every shot just looks so good. So it's like, I would rather spend a long time on 12 shots than like wasting shots on 35 with 36 shots or something.
Exactly.
Or my digital, I just hold the button down a lot.
This the thing is that I feel like I'm too indecisive to use digital properly, because you take like hundreds of pictures a day of the same scene, and then you'd have to like go through them and like edit them all. And like I've got to lie, I can't lie, man. I basically don't edit, which is just really embarrassing. But it's kind of, I don't know, a lot of the time with film, I find that a lot of like photographer purists would say, what the hell are you doing? Why aren't you editing? And I understand that. I really need to learn. But also it's like, when the colors are that good originally, and if you've got the exposure just like bang on, which is a rare occurrence for me, but when it does happen, it's like, yes. And then, like, why would you change it? You know, it's like,
Yeah.
just, as you say, like the grain structure, the colors, just like, I've still not found a favorite film. I thought for a while that it was Ektar. I'm like, that's just so expensive, but it's just impossible to just keep it up, like, you know, all the time. So yeah, how about you? I mean, have you found like a favorite, like a go-to film?
I kind of started right on the high end. I
Really?
was like, if I'm going to get into this, I'm going to buy something nice. So I was buying Portra 400 and 160 right when I started.
Solid. Got to treat yourself.
And I mean, it is as good as people say it is. It's really nice. But now I'm actually stepping back and getting more into 35. So like I kind of jumped in medium format everything, and then now I'm backing up and I'm like, okay, 35 is awesome. If you get a nice 35 that's sharp. The cheap film stocks are great. So I've been using Ultramax 400.
Yeah.
Amazing. It's like, it pretty much is as good as Portra, but not as much latitude. So like you can't mess up as much.
I see. Yeah.
But I'm developing and scanning myself, so it's not that big a deal. Like I can kind of like tweak it a little bit.
That's cool. That's something that I definitely need to get into, because it's it just seems so much, well, for one, it's cheaper, isn't it, in the long run to do that. And also it's probably a lot more satisfying.
Well, you don't edit though, so it might be a little learning curve for your editing. Because when you scan, you need to edit and dial it in. So it might be a little bit of a learning curve there, because I already knew that part. So just learning how to develop and scan wasn't too bad.
And you can do it in your bathroom, right? Like just.
Oh yeah, I just made a video on my YouTube. It's really long, but
I'm gonna check it out. So.
But it's not hard. It just is. It's a process that once you've learned, I think I've developed like 60 rolls now.
Oh, that's cool.
Basically, I've started shooting since January, so I've been shooting a lot this year.
Oh, wow. That's insane.
Well, so it saves you money. It's only $1 per roll to scan and develop. That's it.
$1.
Yeah. Once you've paid off your stuff, I think somewhere between 15 and 20 rolls, you can pay off all the stuff you bought to develop and scan. And then after that, like equivalent price, you know what I mean? And then after that, it's just $1. Like, cause you just need to buy the chemicals and that's it.
That's a dream, man. That's
or
a dream.
Dollar US. What is that? Is it around the same price to you guys?
I mean, the pound is going through, it's plummeting at the moment, so it's probably about the same. But it's
what's a roll of film for you guys? Like, what would Portra be?
Portra is usually about £12, I think, generally. Which is, and I think I bought some recently, actually. I got some Portra 800 because I really like that. And
800 is even more expensive, isn't it?
I know, but I think I started doing this. I'm going to start doing this photo challenge with a friend of mine, Kevin Sharby, who's a really great film photographer as well. He was just like, let's do this photo challenge. So I was like, I need to get loads of film. And I thought, if I'm doing stuff at night, then I need something good as well for that, which I haven't really done very much. Like one time I went around this town where I was at uni at night with a roll of Cinestill, and I did the typical, neon signs, like everything looks nostalgic kind of thing. I really enjoyed that, but I haven't done it since. So I need to get back on that because it's good fun. But
I haven't tried Cinestill at night yet. There's not many neons in my town, and they're turned off for Corona right now.
Really?
So I'm like, turn them back on because I bought a roll and I'm like dying to use it. Well, so tell me a little bit about like where you're from and like a little bit about you, so I can learn a little bit about that and we can share it on the video here. Yeah,
sure. So I'm based kind of near Bristol in England, and I've grown up around here, and it's quite a rural area generally. So to be honest, whenever I'm out shooting, it's usually in Bristol itself, because there's a lot for quite a small city. There's a lot to see and do there, and there's some really great street art, some really interesting people, a lot of white people with dreadlocks, which is always interesting, and it's just a really cool place to be. Good kind of young, just like a young city, you know?
Yeah.
So I do enjoy that. But obviously since lockdown's hit, it's been like I've been confined to shooting in my neighborhood. And that's been a bit more challenging because it's you get the odd. I mean, there's like an industrial estate just down the road that has been all right. I've gotten a few nice shots out of that, I think. But yeah, generally, I feel like I've not really found my style yet in terms of like whether I'm like a landscape photographer or a portrait photographer. I want to. I'm just still testing the water because I've only been doing it for 2 years.
Yeah.
But yeah, and so most of the time I've been shooting in this area. I've also shot a lot in France as well when I was there on my year abroad. And then pretty soon I've got a job coming up teaching English in China. So
whoa,
yeah,
that's
so
huge.
I'm really excited about that, and I honestly just can't wait to take pictures out there because it's just going to be so different for me. Also, another favorite place of mine to take shots is my best friend lives in Valencia in Spain, which is quite a small city, a bit like Bristol, like same sort of vibe. And honestly, I think I've shot more rolls there than anywhere else. Whenever I go there, I'm like, right, I need to get out like 10 rolls for the week and just go crazy, So it's good fun. Yeah. How about you? I mean, you're up in hiking a lot, aren't you? In the mountains in California.
I'm not going out at that much. I wish I was. Maybe if I could quit one day and like be full freelance, photographer, I probably would go like up to the mountains all the time. So I'm in San Luis Obispo, California, which is on the coast. Okay. But it's in between LA and San Francisco, like 3.5 hours. Pretty far.
Oh wow. Okay.
Yeah. And what's great about it is it is the beach, but we don't have city here. So like doing like neon or dark stuff isn't really like a thing here. So if I was into that, I'm probably in the wrong place. But I am like, I really love nature. But I relate to what you're saying though about like trying to find what you're looking for, because I love a lot of photography styles. Like when I'm on Instagram or whatever, I'm looking and finding a lot of things that I like. And I definitely see like niching down being like important. Like Nev, like the interview you watched, he's sunsets and sunrises. And a lot of times it's like water as well. Water and mountains, I think the mountains and the sea was his recent zine. So, cool. Like finding like my voice. The problem is I love portraits a lot because I'm a wedding photographer as well. I love nature. And then I just posted a car and I was like, I don't do car photography, but look at this BMW. It's pretty dope. You know what I mean? I don't know. Because portrait looks really good with yellows, and it was a yellow Beamer down the street. And I was like, that looks cool. I don't, but so like now my feed is like, I don't know. I think a lot about like how it looks and stuff. But at the same time, I'm just like, I just love shooting film. And then like this channel, this is exactly why like what I love about film is, and I talked to Nev about this too, about how it's just like, it's heartwarming to like be able to talk with, like, you're like in the UK, you know what I mean? Like this is, I feel like the regular digital photography community, it's competitive. It's like, it's cutthroat, people are not really supporting each other that well. But like for us, it's like, let me tell you about that 50-year-old camera.
Literally, that is the best thing about film. Like, it's weird how, as you say, like it's such a close-knit community, despite the fact that most of us are like thousands of miles away. I mean, I feel like I've met more friends through photography in the past 2 years than I ever have in my life. It's almost, I've got like so many like different people that I want to speak to at the same time. It's insane, but it's like, and also this analog drive page that I've set up with Peter as well. That's been a big, that's blown it up even more. Because
so tell me about that. Tell me about analog drive and sharing it with the community.
So it was Peter's idea originally, and he's kind of the ideas guy behind a lot of it. He's a bit older than me, and he's a bit more experienced, and he's got the business savvy and all that kind of stuff, But we're just really we're really passionate about film, and we started speaking about a year and a half ago, I think, just kind of like exchanging messages, just saying like, oh, I love this shot that you've posted or whatever, and like just giving each other a lot of praise. He's originally from Bournemouth, in the UK, but he lives in Australia. And yeah, so it's been really like interesting, like chatting with him and stuff. And then one day he just messaged me, said, I've got this idea to start this new like film curation page, because they seem to be like quite popular at the moment. Do you want to try one and maybe do things a bit differently if we can? And I was like, yeah, up for that for sure. And yeah, since then it's just been wild. Like I feel like we've seen so many different artists and their amazing work since March when we started, and we're just so grateful that people seem to like what we're doing. We had this idea for a color theme, which seems to be going quite well. So we've been doing that since the start, and we're both massive music fans. So we've been like trying to incorporate that into the film. Because I feel like, I don't know about you, but I feel like I'm really like, music is probably my biggest inspiration in terms of like what I go out and shoot. Like I remember when I was like a couple of years back, when I didn't even have a film camera and all I had was my phone, I would like try and create photo sets that would match an album, that was kind of my thing.
That's cool.
Yeah, that was kind of fun for a while. And yeah, so we're trying to turn it into as big a thing as we can, and like try and get as many people involved as we can, and make it international. So we have a plan to release our first zine in November.
So like a collaborative zine?
Yeah. So it's going to be, so we're hoping that that people will get on board, and that I think we've got a couple of artists that have already agreed to it. And we're hoping to get about, I think it's 10 overall for the zine. And so they can have a couple of pages spread with their art. And also I'm kind of the one that writes up the questions. So I quite like writing. I feel like that's my strong suit, compared to Peter's more like the technological side. He's much better at. Well,
that's like something I was going to say is like, I love the conversations that you have on there. It's similar to what we're doing here, even though this is video format, but it's like that snippet of what that photo was. Yeah. I love that. Like, that's what I'm all about. Yeah.
That's great. That's really nice of you to say. It's I feel like that's been really, really rewarding, because you get to know the artist so much better than if you just said like, oh, can I, I imagine some pages don't even like ask, they probably just like repost. Yeah. But yeah, it's really nice to just chat with people, and like, it's just mental, like you just get to know people we've got loads of people from Turkey that seem to follow our page, and that's awesome. Really? Like, yeah, cool. It's just like, we don't even share a common language, and still it's like, it's really nice. But how about your pages? Your pages, plural. I mean,
I have a lot of pages.
Yeah, it's great.
Well, so I've got my main page, which it's become my photography page. Actually, in yesterday's post, I kind of shared how I didn't think I was ever going to be a photographer. And now I'm actually being paid to be a photographer, but like like everyone's a photographer, with digital, it's just so easy. You buy a camera, you shoot and all this stuff. And so I never thought I would be one. I saw that there was like a space in the video like world. And then I thought, that was going to be like my thing. And I love video, and that kind of is my primary thing actually.
Right.
But cool. But now like film, I just like discovered film. It's like blowing my mind about how fun and cool the colors are, how unique the shots are. So my page has kind of become just like a celebration of that. And trying to, like shoot a lot, post a lot, and just be in this community. Cause like meeting like you, Nev has been one of my biggest inspirations. I loved talking with him. Yeah. But, just like the community, like, so that's what my main page is. And then Film Friend Fridays, kind of came out of the idea of just like communicating with Nev really. And a lot of these other photographers that I was just like, dude, your stuff's so cool. And then I was like, I bet people would be interested in hearing, behind the scenes on some of this stuff. Yeah. So what I'm doing on that page is trying to do like 3, like I call them series when you do them like 3 across. So a series celebrating that one photographer that I interview on that Friday.
Yeah.
I've been traveling a lot, so I'm actually kind of behind. So I appreciate you being on this Friday.
Oh, well, that's brilliant.
Yeah. And, so that's what that page is. And then I've got that full roll scroll page, I think you just discovered.
Yeah. That's
so
awesome.
That one's a little dormant right now because I'm actually working on an informational video to help people make those. Because like right now, it's just me making them. Yeah. So I want other people to make them and it be more of a curated thing than just my work. So I'm trying it when you like, it's easy for me to shoot like videos, but it takes a lot of energy to make a tutorial style video.
Yeah.
Because you like want to make sure you're saying everything right. And then, So anyways,
that must be tough.
So that one's a little dormant right now. And then I run Cobblestone Productions. Like that's my wife does that full time, and then that's that page. So I've got too many Instagrams, and actually I run a podcast, and that has an Instagram too.
Oh my God, you're a busy man. Well, I appreciate you taking time to speak to me in that case.
Oh no, I'm busy, but then like at the same time, like not busy. Whatever.
It's that's enough to keep anyone afloat, to be honest. Oh, yeah. But I love that. I absolutely love that your main kind of thing is communication, because I feel like that's so important, and that's what keeps a community thriving, especially one that most people see as outdated. Like, like I see all these arguments on Twitter about like between like Sony and like whatever the hell it is, like Canon users for digital, and like, I don't know. I just don't get it. I'm like, you guys are just constantly bickering. Why couldn't you just be nice to each other? And like,
I totally agree. Because I use Sony cameras, and then they came out with a new R5 Canon, and a lot of my friends are trying to convince me to switch over to Fuji, and I'm just like trying to like settle on this. Like I don't like, people are trying to buy the best camera.
Yeah.
When it really comes down to, one of the things that we were talking about a second ago was that love of like slowing down.
Yeah.
Because digital is like, let's go shoot. But I'm like, if I slow down, I only need to take one roll of film.
Yeah.
Like I brought my digital camera and a one roll on my 6x6, 12 shots.
Yeah.
And I shot their 12 shots on that for fun, but then I shot the rest of it on digital. It was for a maternity shoot.
Yeah.
And I wasted half the roll just shooting nature. Like, which those were pretty shots too.
Yeah.
So my 6 best shots from that shoot were film, and they were all good. You know what I mean? Like that's what I'm saying. Like I shot some digital, and I'm like, these look good, and I can edit them and change the color and all this stuff. But I'm like, the colors I want and the vibe I want came from those 6 shots. Yeah. And those are the ones I posted on our Instagram. Like,
that's brilliant.
I'm like, if that's all it is, like basically trying to get like confident and knowing that it's going to work. Like knowing that I'm not going to get a black roll. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's kind of trusting your camera, I think, is one of the big things.
Yeah. And trusting your knowledge of the skill as well, because it's just so, I mean, there's no immediate gratification, is there? You take the shot, and then I think that it's really humbling having to wait and, just kind of ponder while you get it developed. And you never know what you're going to get. And it's like, it's such a process it's such an organic process that you don't get with digital, perhaps. I mean, I might change. I might get a digital camera finally, and then become like all of a sudden, like, 1,000 pictures a day, Sony rapping, all that sort of stuff. But
I hate the fanboyness. No. The fanboyness needs to go away.
It does, truly.
Maybe I'm a Mamiya fanboy though. I don't know.
I mean, I can understand it when they're that pretty.
Well, we got to get you developing yourself, because truly, if you're going to be in the middle of nowhere, China,
yes, yeah,
you're going to need your own little film shop at home.
You're right. I don't know what I'm going to do. I mean, I had a friend that is a really good film photographer, India Wants the Whole World is her Instagram handle, and she actually really inspired me to become a photographer as well. And she spent a year in China, in Fuzhou, and she seemed to do fine. Like in terms of like development, I think they've got like loads of shops out there that you can get it done cheaper than you can here, which is decent.
Okay. That's good.
And I'm going to be in Beijing, so that'll hopefully be all right. I mean, I'm
you
praying
won't be
that
middle of nowhere.
Yeah, I mean, it's going to be interesting, but yeah, I'm hoping that I can keep it up as much as possible out there. I hope I can bring my cameras in my suitcase. I've got like the thing is, I'm not much of a gearhead, right? Like I've got like all my cameras are either passed down to me or I've got them off eBay, basically.
Yeah.
So I don't really have that many to take. I've got this new Ricoh, if that's how you pronounce it, like point and shoot. It's a bit chunky and a bit 80s style, you know. But I kind of want to take that. I don't know about you, but sometimes I find, despite all the gear, sometimes a point and shoot that you get from like a charity shop can be just as good. Like
they're charming.
Yeah.
It's funny that you say that. I'm on a point and shoot kick right now. I literally have like a stack.
Oh my God, look at that.
And I've got some 110. I'm waiting on the store to get back in stock. And then I've bought a camera haul. It's one of my other YouTube videos, but I have a ton of old cameras I just got. And then someone commented and said, you can adapt them to take 120 film. And I'm like, okay, well now all these cameras are usable.
Surely not. That's insane. I didn't know you could do that.
Let's move into the section of the show where we're going to look at one of your photos, talk about some of the backstory. And and I'll just scroll through here and I'll find one of your shots that like kind of picks my eye, and then we'll open it up and we'll talk about it.
I feel hot on the spot here.
Okay.
I'm excited, but also.
So this one's catching my eye. Absolutely beautiful. You've got the shutter coming through it, light leaking. And it's a series. Like your shots are awesome in that. But that first one, the light of it, the color of it. Tell me about that one.
Thanks, man. That was on a little family walk in a place called Bourton on the Water, which is the most English sounding town in the whole bloody world. And it's like, I couldn't believe it was real when I first got there, because I was like, this is just too quaint, you know, like there's something wrong here. And it felt like a nostalgia trip walking through it, because it's kind of timeless as a town. It's there's loads of old like Tudor architecture and old cars, and it feels like you're walking through the 40s in England. It's really strange, but I was I think it was in autumn last year or the year before, and it was a really, really nice day, really good light, and it was the first time I was using Fuji Industrial 400, which is, 400, I can't remember what it is, but it was a really odd film choice for the day. I was like, this is probably better for like an industrial landscape, but as it says on the tin, but in the end I ended up using it. And I was enamored with the colors, to be honest. Like I thought that I didn't think much would come of that roll, but I was really happy with it. It was, it really made the kind of the blues and the greens, especially, they pop on that film. And I just love a light leak. Like, to be honest with you, 90% of the time, if I've got a light leak on my pictures, it wasn't intentional. It's usually, like when it first started happening on my old faulty OM10, I was like, what the hell is this? But then I came to love it. I was like, that's such a nice imperfection to have. Sometimes it can make a shot, and sometimes it can break a shot. But I think in that case, it definitely makes it, because otherwise it'd just be a picture of a door.
It just creates that kind of like layered effect where it just kind of is like a color palette. You know what I mean? Yeah. It's like, hey, here's this beautiful color, and then here's a door of the same color.
I like that.
And then your greens, those greens. And it's that perfect light that like shines in film. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah.
I've been seeing a lot of like, it's this like, it's a little brighter, you know, it's not sunset, but it's like brighter like this, that something in the film pops. And
Yeah.
if you shot that on digital, it would be overexposed.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
it would be blown out and have that sort of like wispy, just overblown. But in film, it glows. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah. No, for
Yeah.
sure. No, that's such a good description. It is so forgiving sometimes. It's weirdly unforgiving in certain points, but then sometimes you'll take a shot kind of a bit blasé, or you've not quite thought it through, and it treats you better than it should, you know, and you get it back and you're like, oh, thank you. Oh, that one wasn't ruined after all, you know. So that's quite nice. You're right. It's great. I have a tendency to underexpose.
Oh, really?
Yeah, sometimes by accident. Sometimes on purpose. I quite like especially on black and white, I quite like the kind of extra contrast between the black and white. Like if you've got like a solitary figure or something and it's quite underexposed, and it creates a nice silhouette, I find that quite nice.
Yeah.
But then again, you know, I'm still not sure whether I prefer black and white or color. It really depends on the situation.
Yeah.
Truly. But I don't know about you. I find that if I ever post black and white, it seems to do less good on Instagram than color does. I don't know if that's a theme or like a thing that happens. It's strange.
That to me is like, you need to be a black and white niche photographer. I feel like the black and white pages will do better if they stay black and white, and the color pages, because I posted a couple black and whites and I thought they were pretty good, but they fell pretty flat. But at the same time, I don't know, I'm drawn to more of the color. So I like black and whites, and especially if someone's like using a filter to like, you know, they do something crazy with the sky. Yeah, that stuff looks so cool. But I don't know, I'm drawn to that color pop, that like that burst of light, like I was just seeing in yours. It's hard.
Sure.
It's hard.
Yeah, truly is. I do love, I think that the color palette on a lot of films is just not, I've never seen it in digital in quite the same extent. Unless it's like crazy edited. I think it does seem like a lot of digital photographers are focusing on trying to make their pictures look filmy, like they'll add grain and like that kind of thing. And that's interesting. And sometimes it can look really good, but other times it's like, why don't you just use a point and shoot, man? Like it would have been so much less effort.
Well, there's a lot of, I feel like the editing's getting heavier and heavier on these film photographers. And then the only benefit I see to it is like that you can kind of maintain your aesthetic, especially as film photographers, or excuse me, as wedding photographers. Like we want to like maintain the same vibe on every shoot, and they're not going to be the same. We can't control that. It's going to be a different day. It's going to be a different wedding shoot. So the only thing we can do is change the colors and make it look like it's all the same, you know?
Yeah.
Whether that's a cop out or not. I mean, I'm loving film. So now I want to think about how can I make their film look good? And so I feel like we're starting to think about our digital editing to match our film style, or my film style.
See. Okay.
So if we can nudge that way, that'd be cool. It's hard because I want to start shooting it at weddings. I'm going to shoot digital backup. That's the thing. It's like you shoot a film and then you do a digital backup.
Yeah.
But at the same time, it's like I want my digital to look close to it at least.
Yeah. Well, that makes perfect sense. It's when if you've got like a vision of what you want your photos to look like, I think it's perfectly reasonable to want your digital and your film to look similar, because that's a good circumstance. So is it quite hard to find work like in terms of like weddings and that, or are people really picky about what kind of style they want, or are people quite, you know, they'll not really know what they're looking for?
It
How do you?
depends. It depends. Yeah. So some people are very like, just I like what you do, just do that. You know what I mean? And then
Yeah.
some people are very particular. Like, are you going to get this shot? We need to make sure you have a shot list. You
Oh,
know?
right. A shot list.
Yeah. Yeah. Like, make sure you get my shoes, make sure you get my rings, make sure you get
Cool.
this person hanging with this person.
Pressure. Cool.
Yeah. But then I think when you start getting into I think more of the film and higher end, it's kind of weird because the lower end you go, the more picky people are, and the higher
Yeah.
end you go, the more they trust you in your art form. You
Yeah.
know, because they're paying for your art form.
Yeah.
And I actually think that a lot of the film wedding photographers are charging a lot more, so that
Right.
that artistic ability kind of shines.
Yeah.
And you can definitely see it in their work that they're more creative. They spend more time on like interesting shots.
Yeah.
So ultimately, that's where I want to be. It's hard. I mean, it's a whole nother conversation, but like, it's hard to like price yourself in that. So,
Oh, of course. Yeah. I wouldn't know where
yeah,
to start with that. Whew. It's
no,
like,
it's hard.
I think that one avenue I'd love to pursue further is like gig photography.
Okay.
Because I'm big into music. I love, well, for a while I was too nervous to bring a camera along to a gig because it just seemed like, well, for one, everyone thinks you're a bit of a knob. And also it's like, you don't want it to get broken, especially like I've been to quite a few like metal gigs and stuff. I'm like, this is just stupid if I bring a camera. But then like sometimes I've risked it and brought a point and shoot along with some Ilford 400 or whatever, so that I can get it pushed so that it's not underexposed. And like, it's so satisfying. I don't know, like after when you get those back, especially if it's of a band that you like, it's even better. But if I had a digital camera, I think that's the first thing I would be doing is like gig photography, because it's some of the shots you can get are just incredible.
What's cool is like the lighting's already there, you know?
Yeah.
Like there's smoke machines and lighting, and it's already going to be like interesting to look at because it's a performance too.
That's true.
I haven't shot any of that, but I know someone that does do like he tours with bands and like shoots for them.
Oh, cool. Yeah.
It can be really cool if you're good at it.
Yeah. What a great job. I mean, that's something to aim for sure. But also I'm kind of at the point where I've not made any money from photography. I've just lost money from it. So I'm like, at what point is there a point where I'm like, actually, I want to start making money out of it? Or do I just keep it as a hobby? As something like precious to me. It's a bit of a tough call, but I think I would love to, like, I've got a friend who is just starting a master's course in photographic journalism.
Okay.
That would be such a cool thing to do, you know? But I think about it and I'm like, I'm really, I'm basically saying to myself then, I want to be a photographer and do that forever.
It's really trying to sell something, like sell your work to someone, but also helping them in the process. So like finding a happy medium between your creativity and amplifying their brand or who they are. So like wedding photography is just like, they want to look pretty on their wedding day.
Yeah.
And I take pretty photos. So like, how can I help them do that?
Yeah.
So that's kind of that. And then portraiture is more, you can charge for like mini sessions and make like, few $100s or that way. But then it's kind of like whatever direction you want. There's not really any money in landscape. There's not really any money in like that kind of stuff. But
I guess not.
Like ways to do it is like, latching on to a band and being like, look, I can take dope photos for you.
Yeah.
There's ways to do it if it's something you want to do. It's showing the value of yourself to them. A lot of times it takes giving away something for free to start with.
Yeah.
Our first year was like 15 weddings at practically free.
Really?
Whoa, and it was a lot of work. Yeah.
That's hard going.
But I mean, if it's something that you're really passionate about, you can do it. I mean, if you really put in the time and figuring out, like, I think even anybody's art form, it's more of how to monetize that art form than it
Yeah.
is if you're good enough.
Yeah. That's
Because
true.
I think art is subjective. People will like your work, and it's really like the energy that you're going to put into it. Like, I'm not the best photographer. I'm not the best wedding photographer, but I'm good enough to meet someone's vision, and then so it's like communicating that and just being a good person, like
Yeah.
just being like, I'm here for you. I'm going to shoot this for you. We're
Yeah.
going to have fun and create something together,
That's it. That's the key thing. I think I think you're too modest to start with. I think you're a great photographer.
Well, thank you.
But yeah, it truly is about trying to capture someone's vision. That seems like the most important thing. Yeah, I've got to find my own vision first, I suppose. But it's a long process, isn't it? I mean, but do you find what do you find inspires you with your own personal photography? I mean, you said
you're
nature,
asking all the
right?
questions I'm supposed to be asking you.
Sorry. Yeah, that's so annoying, isn't it?
No, that's great. This is going to be like an hour-long video. It's going to be great.
I apologize.
So,
I'm such a talker.
Well, one of the things that inspires me too is like you were saying is music. And I talked about this in one of these other ones, but it's music videos. So like, gosh, there's some creative music video producers out there.
For sure.
So that really inspires me in that realm. But I really am drawn to portraits. I'm drawn to landscapes, but portraiture is just like so awesome to me.
Yeah.
I don't know, color. I don't know. It's hard to nail it down. That's why my feed's a little all over the place. But
yeah.
But when I think about just good images. With an interest. There's a guy. He's a digital photographer, but a travel photographer here in town called Chris Burkhardt. Have you heard of him?
I haven't. I've got him down.
Well, he's not film, but he's huge. And what he does is in all of his images, he has an interest point. And sometimes it's like these incredible landscapes, but like, who cares about your landscape? He puts a person in it, or like a airplane, or like a hang glider. It's usually some sort of like outdoorsy, like climbing or something like that.
That's
but like
cool.
The amount of thought it took you to say, hey, you need to go way over there, and I'm going to be in a plane up there, and we're going to communicate, and I'm going to take this shot. I'm like, that's
unreal.
So like, I've started to think about that. Like, how can I be better at that? I see a lot of like wedding photographers that will do like an elopement, but they'll do it in like a really pretty place in a mountain. But what they'll do is like, there'll be a camera far away, and they'll be like on a ledge,
Really?
Like, oh, that's a good shot, So I think that's what inspires me. That was a long like what inspires me kind of thing.
No, that's great. That's exactly. I feel like I'm not someone that takes much inspiration from like the greats of photography, like the Dusseldorf scene and all that sort of stuff. I feel like I should study it more. But at the moment, I just honestly, just my friends that do photography are the ones that inspire me the most. Like just picking up people's zines and stuff. Like Charlie Tom had this zine about his trip to Chernobyl in Ukraine, and just the idea of having a piece of art or like a collection of photos that's based on a theme or a topic or like a historical narrative. That's what really interests me. I think cool. And I've got another friend who's doing a project on Spanish Civil War bunkers, just stuff like that. Sure. I'm just like, what a great theme, like.
So you're story driven is what you're saying. Like, you really love a good story behind it. Yeah.
Yeah. I think that's really important. And I love when an artist can write a bit of something like a story behind it, or like a bit of prose, or something along with it, because that really adds the human element. I think that too often you can have an image that is kind of abstract if you remove it from the context of what the person's vision was originally. It's good to have people's insight into what they're creating, I think.
Dude, you would be an amazing professional photographer.
We
gotta get you up there, man. Like if you're thinking about that kind of stuff, like you would do well.
Oh, thank you. That's kind. I mean, maybe I'll say screw it and I'll just do a master's. Just why not?
You don't even need a degree. You don't even need a degree. Start working with people that like have brands, or you could even reach out like locally, where you're at. Like, hey, I'll shoot for your coffee shop. I'll shoot for your whatever.
I never thought of that. Yeah.
You just start reaching out, giving people favors, and then you get to the point where you start valuing what you're doing, like putting a price to it. Start low, you just grow it, Yeah. It's whatever you want to do.
The world's the oyster, eh? I'm 23 now, so have I got time? Hopefully.
Yeah.
We'll see.
Maybe that's more, is that too much of an American aspect on life?
The American dream, man. Honestly, I don't even know.
I feel like American millennials, I read this thing about it. It was like every American millennial thinks that they're going to be like a millionaire. And I'm like, dang it. Why do I fall into this category?
I respect it. I respect the
and I'm
drive.
like, I'm a musician. I'm a photographer. I'm like, I don't think I'm gonna make that much money.
I didn't know you're a musician too. But then you're wow, you'll do well. What's your? Are you in a band?
Not in a band. I'm a music therapist. And I work at a mental hospital here.
That's cool. That's really cool. Yeah, that is completely not what I thought. I thought you were going to say that you were like an indie band,
I wish. I've always tried to do a band, but what happens is my drummer always bails.
Oh, the bloody drummers.
Every time it's the drummer, and I usually love them. Like the drummer is usually the best part about the band, and they're the ones that have the time commitment. So literally every time I've tried to start one, it's always the drummer that drops out.
That sucks because they're so few and far between. Like, I don't know any drummers. I know so many guitarists, but no drummers.
And they got to be a good drummer. I don't know. Like I'm fairly good at guitar, but like I want my drummer to like. They got usually a drummer to me. I don't know. I think I'm just so passionate about like good drum sounds. Is like I just want them to be good. Yeah, I wish I was in a band. Do you have a band going?
I bloody wish. Honestly, it's like I'm not really. I've played guitar since I was 16, right? So I've like self-taught, but I've just not been consistent enough. And like, had I done that for, like 2 hours every day, like some people do, like just crazy amounts of practice, I probably would be in a band, but just no chance. I kind of just like, I'm just like a bedroom strummer, I'm just like, just learn this song. Yeah. Just like learn this song like cruel today. Why not? But one day I do see myself one day doing that. We'll see. Cool. I'll take inspiration from you for doing that.
Well, Henry, thank you so much for chatting with me today. It means a lot that you came on the show today, and this has been so much fun.
Thanks so much for having me, Will. It's been great, and it's I look forward to keeping up with your art in the future.
And likewise to you, man. All right, man.
Thanks a lot.
Have a good one. See ya.
Cheers. You too. Bye.
Thank you so much for joining us on Film Friend Fridays. It was awesome talking to Henry. I felt like it was an old friend and we were just chatting away the days. So I really appreciate you guys watching. Henry, thank you so much for being on the show today. And make sure to like and subscribe to this video. If you want to see more Film Friend Fridays, if you want to see any of my other YouTube stuff, go follow me on Instagram at @OneWillCobb, and we'll see you in the next Film Friend Fridays. Peace, guys.